Hey, what's going on, dudes? My name is MrRhexx and we're back with some more LorePlay. So in the last episode, we continued our quest with the Dark Brotherhood. We killed Nielsen, was it? Nielsen Shadowshield? Yes, and we also killed Elaine Font, which this person who contacted Dark Brotherhood wanted them killed. So we don't ask questions, we just do what we're told, because that's who we are. Today, however, we're going to continue the quest, of course. We'll talk a little bit about the Brotherhood, more specifically Sithis and Cicero, which are some very interesting characters that I'm sure that you guys are very interested in hearing. But before then, I want to talk about the Dwemer. Yep. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been a while since I last recorded LorePlay, and you guys made sure to tell me that on the last episode. It's, I don't remember if I've talked about the Dwemer before. Pretty sure I haven't. At least I hope not. But today we'll just focus a little bit on the Dwemer. We'll recapitulate on them and study their history. So as you can see, this is what is considered to be a city, or at least a town. I mean, the Dwemer cities tend to be pretty big. What is the name of this one specifically? Would be Ralbthar. Okay, so the Dwemer. Albeit popular knowledge claims them to be dwarves, the Dwemer were not actually dwarves, and I'm sure that most of you know this, but most of them, I mean, at least those few of you who know, the Dwemer were actually elves, and it comes down to the fact that Dwem actually means deep, and Mer, which is usually attributed to it being meaning elf, actually doesn't mean elf, it means people. So the translation of Dwemer into common would be people of the deep. Although when you speak of Elvish in the world of the Elder Scrolls, Mer means my people, my own people, so it would mean the Elvish people, although the term Elvish is kind of understood, so you don't really have to say it. But yeah, it means people of the deep. So, and this is something that happens with all elves in the world. I'm not gonna be able to do this, aren't I? This is attributed to all elves in the world of the Elder Scrolls. So like you have Dunmer, you have the Aldmer, you have the Orsimer. Like there's always this whole thing where they add Mer at the end, and then, you know, depending on what kind of elf we're talking about, you know, there's different there we go, there's different meanings to it. One of the most, at least one of my favorite ones, which is probably the biggest misconception that there is that Bosmer doesn't actually mean wood elf, and that's the most interesting one of them all, because I'm sure that a lot of you guys are probably scratching your heads right now. Bosmer doesn't actually mean wood elf. It actually means forest elf, or people of the forest. Wood in Elvish has a different, I don't remember what it was, Mossmare? Myrmare? There's a different word for wood in the Elvish language for the Elder Scrolls. And we're getting very geeky in here, but regardless, this is all deep elf construction. So you can see the very peculiar style of art form that they have, which is very different from everything else. We're never really explained why the elves, this specific sect of elves, actually left the Aldmere from the, you know, from Malangwood and Somerset Isles. We just know that they decided to camp out over here, and this is an example of their mechanized wonders and how deeply advanced the deep elves were, according to, and not just according to anything, I mean just compared to everyone else. You have to keep in mind that the deep elves, the Dwemer, were actually living on Tamriel 4,000 years ago, right? It's about, and I did the math a little bit, I kept it very generic, my numbers, very, I don't have the exact times, but it was about 3,800 years ago. So it's been a while since this guy's left this realm of existence. And look how advanced they are. And I'm not even talking about robots. I'm not even talking about Steam and, I mean, computers, which they have obviously also have created. What I'm talking about is something more magical, something a little bit ahead of, okay, I'm just not going to be doing good here, aren't I? Just do my power attack, which is overpowered as hell. There we go. What I'm talking about here is perpetual energy, something that no other race has even come close to perfecting. And to be fair, we haven't really had an Elder Scrolls game set in the Somerset Isles. You know, places of more magical value added to them. So it is a little bit unfair to say, because we don't really know exactly how other races are doing, since we don't really have, you know, that perspective. But the term of perpetual energy was, for the most part, is a Dwemer thing. They found a way to give magic and life to robots in a way that would make them last forever, which is something that has never been seen before, with one exception. Can you guess what exception that is? If you guessed Alduin, then you are kind of correct. Alduin, and I'm not talking about the ability to resurrect dragons, I'm talking about the ability to maintain druggers for eternity, which is almost something that they have actually kind of accomplished. If you guys remember, in some of my older videos, I talked about how the druggers have the ability to tap into life essences that are seemingly unreachable to anyone else. We don't know exactly, and this is something that is not explained in the games or in the books, where the druggers are actually grabbing their energy from. Let me just go ahead and save. We don't know where they're grabbing their energy from, but from somewhere in the cosmos, they're grabbing energy, and then using that energy to live, and using that energy to fuel the dragon priests, as to allow them to never die. The druggers are dead. Their souls are allegedly not really in Nirn anymore, but the dragon priests haven't died, so their souls are technically still in their bodies, which means that they could theoretically be regenerated into a better version of themselves later by Alduin, which was the whole plan. But anyway, my original point was Alduin found a way to keep these druggers alive, so that the cult that venerated him would stay alive for the rest of time, right? So that's something that Alduin has, but Alduin has a different set of magic that is not necessarily at our disposal. He has dragon magic, which is a very specific set of magic that is tied to Akatosh, which is the god of time, and you know, there's a whole thing added to that. But the other one, the actual normal group of people that has managed to do it, is the Deep Elves, and we don't necessarily know how they did it, which is very impressive in and of itself. But the fact that you start to realize that this was 4,000 years ago, you know what I mean? 4,000 years ago, they already had this technology. And 4,000 years later, no one has even come close to doing that, which is very, very impressive. So what is the history with the Dwemer? Well, we know that they lived in what is called, or used to be called, oh no, what was it called? I forgot it. Dwemereth, I think it was called. It was how they named their land, which comprised, allegedly was half of Skyrim. So it would be about, let's see if I can grab like a suitable middle ground. I don't know, it was about half of Skyrim, like something along these lines. And then most, if not all of Morrowind. And all of that was called Dwemereth, or something. I don't remember the name exactly, but something along those lines. And they used to be extremely powerful, as you might imagine. I mean, the technology is just crazy. But the thing that made them so interesting, even, you know, not just talking about their actual impressive mechanical achievements, but what made them so interesting was that they found this amazing ore underground in the city of Blackreach, which at some point we'll actually reach. It's a very, very interesting city. It's probably the biggest one of them all, but they found this very interesting ore that allowed them to imbue armor or anything that you want to craft with this ore. It allowed them to imbue it with magic that was unforeseen in this world. And if you think about it, Bethesda translated it into the game in a very interesting manner. When you think about the enchantments that you can do in this game, you're talking about, like, okay, so I can increase my magicka by like 10. I can increase my health, and I can increase my stamina, I can increase the attack power of my weapons, of my bows, I can sneak better. Like, all of these enchantments that I just mentioned are very simple in nature, right? Like, these are things that seem simple and can be easily explained, right? Like, okay, you have more magic, you have more health. Like, these are very simple things. What this very specific ore that the Dwemer found, the magics that they were allowed to use in this ore was something that wasn't found anywhere else in the world. And when you do the quest later on down the line, where you actually get to, you know, go into that forge of magic, the Aetherium forge, and then use that ore to make an item for yourself, you'll see what I mean. You get magics that you cannot get with any other item. In fact, the only magical enchantment that even come close to that of Aetherium, by the way, was the name of the ore. Aetherium. The only creature, the only entities that are actually able to actually... Oh! I went to level instead of wasting a health potion. The only entities that can actually even come close to managing that level of magic is actually the Daedrus. If you pay close attention to the type of enchantment that the Daedrus can give to you, they're very impressive, right? I mean, we're talking the ability to do anything. You can summon Dremoras from other planes of existence. You can get like shields of magic. You can banish people. You can, I guess you can banish with normal enchantments, but you know, like the Skeleton Key, the Cowl of Nocturnal, like these are things that you cannot find in normal weapons ever. That type of enchantment is super impressive, right? So that's what I'm talking about. And they were able to do this type of magic with the Aetherium ore, and that's what made them so powerful to begin with. This was only like maybe 400 years before they died, by the way. So they've been living at this point for maybe like a few thousand years. Then they found this and they disappeared like maybe 400 years after that. Bam, bam, bam. Look how much damage I do now with my power attack. It's fucking overpowered. It's so good. But yeah, they the power of the ore they found, the Aetherium, actually Aetherium. It was so powerful that infighting between the dwarves happened. They started fighting each other and they lost most of their power because of all of this infighting. And you know, there's a lot of story that kind of comes through that after that. The Nords eventually rallied in order to defeat most of the cities that the Dwemer had in Skyrim, because they felt that they could do it since they were weakened because of the infighting. Which they did. They defeated a lot of the dwarves. I am going to die here and die. Kill this guy. There we go. Eventually the Dwemer, however, did manage to push the Nords back and reclaimed most, if not all, of their cities, but they never touched the Aetherium Forge after that. They felt that the power that it gave them and, you know, the infighting that it provoked was far too greater a threat to warrant the incredible magics that the Aetherium granted them. So they allegedly, and again, this is something that we're not really told by the stories or the books. We're safe to assume that they left the Aetherium alone, that they probably just like abandoned Blackreach and just stopped mining it. But for the next, like, I don't know, 300 years or so, they allegedly never touched it again. See what we have here. Got some buttons. Not sure if I necessarily want to finish this dungeon, but since we're talking about the Dwemer, I feel like it makes sense, you know, to be doing this. Of course, you notice that there are Falmer here living in the Dwemer city, so we can talk about them too. The Nords massacred the Snow Elves. The Snow Elves are another one of those race of elves that migrated and lived in Skyrim on the actual surface of Skyrim, which is also the same for Morrowind. We haven't talked about the Chimmer, but the Chimmer are the types of elves that used to live in the surface of Morrowind, whereas the Snow Elves were those that lived in the surface of Skyrim, and the Deep Elves being the ones that lived underground in both of those regions. But yep, the Snow Elves were massacred, so they asked the Deep Elves for help, and the Deep Elves kind of betrayed them because they really didn't give a shit about anyone else, apparently, and they betrayed the Snow Elves and took them as slaves by forcing them to ingest this very specific moss, this fungus that grows deep down into the caverns of Skyrim, and forced them to eat it, which allegedly made them blind and made them submissive, which was what they wanted in the first place. They just wanted a submissive race for them to slave over. Which is, oddly enough, it feels like an elvish thing, isn't it? Like, elves, obviously we know that the Thalmor are, like, extremely, you know, like, supremacists, like, fuck everyone else. Like, if they could make the humans slaves, you bet your ass they would. Obviously, you have the Dark Elves who made the Argonians slaves, etc., etc. So, you know, there's something about elves that they just kind of enjoy making slaves out of other people, which can't really explain. It's not like it's happened in real life, right? Jeez. But yeah, they enslaved them, and eventually, of course, the Snow Elves revolted in what I think the name of the war was War of the Crag, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the name anymore of the war, but they did revolt against the Dwemer, but they never won. I mean, they were pretty fucked anyways. Thanks to the degradation of their genetics, thanks to the constant ingestion of the moss, they really couldn't truly fight back, but they did what they could. Eventually, however, what caused the disappearance of the elves, which was sudden and without a trace, was the fact that, and this is something that is very tied to the history of the world, and I should probably give you guys a small, if anything, just a glimpse into the backstory of the world as far as the gods are concerned, because we're going to be talking about the Heart of Lorkhan, and the Heart of Lorkhan it's so deeply rooted into the story of Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls that it would be a disservice to skim through it. But the basic premise of it is that we know Lorkhan, right? Lorkhan was a human god, because he kind of was. He never really was a god for the elves. In fact, the elves always hated him. And so back then in the Merithic era, we're talking about wars that were always very common. The wars against the elves by the humans. You know, humans against elves, gods that walk the earth, etc., etc. Let's just go ahead and figure this out. This is going to take me forever, is it? Or not? Okay. I was just going to head and pretend that I actually knew what I was doing, which I didn't. So yeah, so the humans were at war with the elves, you know, typical stuff, things that happen. Has been happening since the existence of this world. But Lorkhan actually used to walk the earth like a demigod, you know, like kind of like Mehrunes Dagon in the End of Oblivion, except that he was actually in flesh and blood. Boom. Thing is, believe it or not, Lorkhan was actually defeated by a hero of the elves. A hero of the elves that you might actually know. His name was Trinimac. Trinimac was Malakath before he was transformed into a Daedric orc god. You see, he used to be a demigod for the elves. Who allegedly was the elves' strongest warrior, like a champion for them, and he actually defeated Lorkhan. The thing about Lorkhan is that when he created the world, he made it so that he was inherently tied up to Nirn. So you couldn't defeat you couldn't kill Lorkhan without destroying the world. He was tied up, in essence, to the world. So what Auriel did, which Auriel, by the way, is like the chief god in the pantheon of the elves. See, at this point, who knows which one is real, you know what I mean? Like, we have, like, multiple pantheons and multiple gods. It's very hard to tell who is who. Akatosh, you know, Auriel is probably, like, the elvish Akatosh, if you want to put it that way. But it's very difficult to ascertain exactly who's real, who's not real, and, you know, because we have different points of views as far as, like, the pantheons go. But Auriel, since he couldn't defeat Lorkhan, since he couldn't kill Lorkhan, he took the heart out of his... Well, Trinimac took the heart out of Lorkhan, and then Auriel shot the heart out so that it would never be found again. Point is, the Dwemer actually found the heart, and they try to use the heart to become immortal, which was something that they always wanted to do since, like, their inception. Let's remove this out. Fuck our skulkers. But of course, this caused a lot of wars. I don't even know how to proceed telling the story, because it's very, like, rooted in, like, I feel like a teacher, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just boring you guys with, like, useless history. I don't know. I guess you guys enjoy it, but I do feel like a massive nerd right now. I'm actually running out of health, so let me just... I'm gonna have to fight a Centurion soon. So I am dreading that, boys. Oh no. But yeah, the Dwemer found the Heart of Lorkhan, which they try to use so that they could become immortal, and then they disappeared, which is the most speculated like single event in the whole universe of the Elder Scrolls. What? Oh my god, he's like, no! What the hell happened to the Dwemer? You know, how they disappeared, where did they go? Were they punished? Were they punished, or were they rewarded? You know, were they granted immortality, hence were they summoned into Aetherium and, you know, taken out of the planet, or were they just killed, all of them, for their hubris? It's one of the biggest questions in the world of the Elder Scrolls, and we don't really have an answer. I don't have an answer. There is no answer, you know, not until Bethesda actually tells us. But that's really what happened. The only Dwemer that actually survived is a character that you can actually find in Morrowind, who was in the Oblivion Realms at the time. Apparently, those the magic that made them all disappear only affected the world of Nirn and not the Daedric realms in the other planes of existence. So this one freaking Dwemer guy who happened to be in an Oblivion realm at the time wasn't taken away from reality. So he's the only Dwemer that actually survives, and you can talk to him in Morrowind. He's there, which is pretty interesting. But don't worry, guys, we'll talk about the Chimera, we'll talk about the Dark Elves, we'll talk on another episode about the Snow Elves, because there's a lot of history, man. I'm trying to, like, cut it out into, like, its most simplest terms so that I only mention the Dwemer, but it's very hard, because the history of the Dwemer is directly tied as to why the Dark Elves are Dark Elves, you know what I mean? Like, what happened to the Chimera that made them Dark Elves? Like, that's all part of Dwemer history, but I'm trying not to touch on them until later on. It's very difficult. And the Snow Elves, too. There's a lot to the Farmer that is very interesting. But yeah, these are the remains of the massive cities that the Dwemer used to have. I actually like it down here. They're pretty cool. Am I missing something, or did I? Oh, I think there's one down there. Yeah. This one always gets me. I always forget. There's one below water. And so, oh, I just have to press the button, right? Let me go ahead and quick save, because holy fuck. Alright, so I possess no healing potions as of now. Let me go ahead and conjure a familiar or something. Actually, I should have used this one. There we go. Good. I didn't? I'm so confused right now. There we go. Wait, what the hell? There we go. No! Oh my god. I'm not gonna be able to kill this guy. I am not going to be able to kill this guy. So we might as well just end it here. Got one shot it. My god. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably just like sneak past him or something. We can come back here if we remember to do so. Shit. Because this guy is not going down. Yeah, let's just sneak past him. See if we can gather something in here. Because I believe there's an important item that we'll actually use later on a different quest. And it's found at the end of this dungeon. Amulet of Dwemer. Dwemer is the goddess of... I don't think I've mentioned that either. Dwemer is the goddess of love, but it's more sexual love rather than maternal or family love, which... Oh, no, okay, yeah. I thought I was mistaken there for a second. Yeah. So Dwemer is sexual love, whereas Mara is maternal / family love. So it's a very important distinction to make. Dwemer is also the goddess of art. And whatever that implies. The beauty in art. It's one of my favorite goddesses. She's cool. And Dwarven mechanism. So Oh shit, I wasn't thinking because I was just talking to you guys. I think I just got an item, right? I wasn't. Oh fuck. Hate that I just don't pay attention when I'm talking to you guys. It's so hard to play and talk. It really is. Just open this real quick. And Talos, I mean, you all know Talos. If you want to know more about Talos, man, you guys better look at my Talos secret video that I made. It's so good. Not to scratch my own back, but it's a really good video. So I have one-handed attacks do 20% more damage, and it happens to be heavy armor, so the one I just got, which I just lost here, is light armor. It's only 15%, so screw that noise. There we go. This is what I was telling you guys about. Glowing crystal shard. If I'm not mistaken, that's actually a shard of Aetherium. So that's the magical, awesome ore that I was telling you guys about that the Dwemer found that allowed the Dwemer to imbue magical properties that were not seen in this world since then. This is part of a 2 set. If I find the other set, then I should be able to access the Aetherium Forge, which should grant me a magical weapon of my choice. Or a crown, or I think it was a shield? No, is a staff? A sword? I don't remember what I get. It's been so long. I remember the crown though, because it's my favorite. I don't think I can activate this, can I? No. The helmet is by far my favorite. It allows you to choose a different, or rather 2 stones of power. So you could choose like the stone of the lady and the stone of the warrior, etc., etc. I think I have to open this by. There's like a lever hidden in one of this. There it is. I never find this. Cool. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about the Dwemer, be sure to ask me. You guys didn't ask any questions on the last video, so there's nothing for me to answer. But if you have any questions about the Dwemer or anything else, guys, leave it in the comments below so that I can answer you guys. Oh, hello there. On the videos. You know, doesn't matter. Whatever question you guys want to, just leave it up there and I'll be sure to answer it. But anyways, let's go back to here to Markarth. Deliver the good news so that we can then return to the Brotherhood Sanctuary and continue our questline.
Well, what news? Is Elaine?
He's dead.
Thank you. That bastard got exactly what he deserved. And I heard about Nilsine. You have more than fulfilled your part of the bargain. Please, take this as payment and a symbol of my affection. I'll never forget you.
That is so nice. It's a lot of gold, actually. Alright, pretty cool stuff. One thing that I forgot to mention that I thought was very interesting, the poison that we saw on the last episode, which was the... Let me see if I can find it. The lotus extract. It's very interesting because... Not just because it's unique, but it's the fact that she could have used any poison, right? She could have used any poison to kill Nilsine, but instead she chose the lotus extract. And we know from where we can actually find the lotus extract that it's used for torture, since you can find it behind a torture rack in Windhelm, right? So it is very likely that the poison is not necessarily meant to straight up kill, but to maybe harm and torture, which kind of puts that girl, Muiri, in a more darker type of light, doesn't it? She wanted to like possibly torture Nilsine, which is just, ugh, so dark.
Ah, you're back. So, how went your first real contract? A bit more exciting than what Nazir's been offering, I'd wager? Of course, dear, of course. And from what my little ravens tell me, you handled yourself quite well. Now, I need your assistance with a matter of a more personal nature. It's Cicero. Ever since he arrived, his behavior's been... well, erratic would be an understatement. I do believe he is truly mad, but it's worse than that. He's taken to locking himself in the Nightmother's chamber and talking to someone. in hushed but frantic tones. Who is he speaking with? What are they planning? I fear treachery. Maybe so, but healthy paranoia has saved this sanctuary before, and my gut's telling me that demented little fool is up to something. Dear brother, I need you to steal into that chamber and eavesdrop on their meeting. It'll be no use clinging to the shadows. They'll see you for sure. No, you need a hiding place. Somewhere they'd never think to look. Like inside the Nightmother's coffin. Be that as it may, we have no other choice. You need to remain unseen. Now go, before they meet, and report back to me with whatever you learn. Watch yourself out there.
Disrespectful wouldn't be the word I would use, but it's a pretty good word. Alright, let's do this quest real quick. We'll talk a little bit about Sithis and and Cicero, and maybe a little bit about the shadow scales, because there's something very interesting to talk about them once we start touching on Sithis as a character. So let's go ahead and get ourselves in here, close down the door, and do what must be done. Somehow I'm opening a lock, which is interesting. One of my favorite parts in the whole questline, to be honest. Guys, I present to you all the Bride of Sithis.
Are we alone? Yes. Yes! Alone! Sweet solitude! No one will hear us, disturb us. Everything is going according to plan. The others, I've spoken to them, and they're coming around, I know it. The wizard Festus Creks. Perhaps even the Argonian, and the Unchild. What about you? Have you spoken to anyone? No? No, of course not. I do the talking, the stalking, the seeing, and the saying. And what do you do? Nothing! Not that I'm angry. No, never. Cicero understands. Cicero always understands. And obeys. You will talk when you're ready, won't you? Won't you? Sweet Nightmother.
Poor Cicero, dear Cicero, such a humble servant, but he will never hear my voice, for he is not the listener.
Oh, but how can I defend you? How can I exert your will if you will not speak to anyone?
Oh, but I will speak. I will speak to you, for you are the one. Yes, you. You who shares my iron tomb, who warms my ancient bones. I give you this task. Journey to Wallenroad. Speak with Armand Mortier.
Poor Cicero has failed you. Poor Cicero is sorry, sweet mother. I've tried so very hard, but I just can't find the listener.
Tell Cicero the time has come. Tell him the words he has been waiting for all these years. Darkness rises when silence dies.
treachery! Defiler! Debaser and defiler! You have violated the sanctity of the Nightmother's coffin! Explain yourself! Speak, worm! She spoke to you? More treachery, more trickery and deceit! You lie! The Nightmother speaks only to the listener! And there is no listener! She said that. She said those words. To you. Darkness rises when silence dies. But those are the words, the binding words, written in the keeping tomes. The signal so I would know. Mother's only way of talking to sweet Cicero. And it's true. She's back. Our Lady is back. She has chosen a listener. She has chosen you. All hail the listener.
By Sithis, this ends now! Back away, fool! Whatever you've been planning is over! Are you all right? I heard the commotion. Who was Cicero talking to? Where's the accomplice? Reveal yourself, traitor!
I spoke only to the Nightmother. I spoke to the Nightmother, but she didn't speak to me. Oh, no! She spoke only to him, to the listener.
What? The listener? What are you going on about? What is this lunacy?
It's true! It's true! The Nightmother has spoken. The silence has been broken. The listener has been chosen!
When I heard Cicero screaming, I knew you'd been discovered. I feared the worst. Are you all right? Then what in Sithis' name is going on? Cicero spoke to the Nightmother, but she spoke to you? Is this just more of the fool's rambling? What? So Cicero wasn't talking to anyone else? Just the Nightmother's body? And the Nightmother who, according to everything we know, will only speak to the person chosen as listener, just spoke. Right now. To you? By Sithis. And? What did she say? Amand Motier? I have no idea who that is. But Valenrud, that I have heard of. And I know where it is. No. No! Listen, I don't know what's going on here, but you take your orders from me. Are we clear on that? The Nightmother may have spoken to you, but I am still the leader of this family. I will not have my authority so easily dismissed. I need time to think about all this. Go see Nazir. Do some work for him. I'll find you when I'm ready to discuss the matter further.
So there you go, boys. It's a pretty long scene, but it's definitely one of my favorites. You actually get to talk to the Nightmother, which is amazing, because it's just what she represents. Like a link to the actual, possibly most powerful entity in the universe of the Elder Scrolls, and she's a direct link to that person, you know what I mean? Like, there's something just inherently powerful about the person, the thing, the creature that resides in that coffin, and we actually get to see it, which is very, very impressive. But let's talk a little bit about who Sithis is, and we'll touch on Cicero a little bit. Sithis is known by many names, and obviously you should see my lore videos on her. It's very interesting too, but she is considered to be Padome, or more specifically, a reincarnation of Padome. And this is something that, again, we don't really get told much about, and it's, a lot of it is based out on really, really old books that might not necessarily be true anymore, because Elder Scrolls is very deceptive with the way they tell their story. They give you the story from different perspectives and different authors, and some of those authors are not very well credited. So, you know, there's a fair amount of lies between, you know, most of what is the lore of this game and this world. But we do know that it is either Padome or the reincarnation of Padome. So this entity Sithis holds dominion over everything that is dead, death, not oblivion necessarily as much as the void. So everything that is not oblivion or Aetherius, which is the emptiness of reality, you know what I mean? Like everything that is chaos, it's pretty much Sithis. So Sithis is allegedly the most powerful entity in the universe outside of maybe Anu, but we have no idea what Anu is. Some people, the elves specifically claim that Auriel is the reincarnation of Anu. So if that's true, then, you know, there is a counterpart to Sithis. But since that is elf lore, and you guys do not like elf lore, then I have noticed, we can assume that Sithis is probably the most powerful entity in the universe. So it's very, very cool, and you know, the fact that she's interacting with us is very, very interesting. Cicero, on the other hand, is what is known as a keeper. A keeper is a person that holds the remains and the coffin of the Nightmother. We talked about who the Nightmother was 2 episodes ago, so I won't really go into those set of details again because it's very complicated, so you should watch that episode again if you want to. But he keeps the coffin of the Nightmother intact. Now, it's very interesting because the keeper actually has a lot more details on the job description that you might think. It's not just about keeping the you know, the obvious thing of keeping the sarcophagus safe and the Nightmother safe. He actually has to, and this is something that I talked about in another video.
Oh, you are the listener! You are the listener! I have served Mother well, I have!
He actually has to clean the Nightmother's body. Now, there is a semblance of magic to this body. This is not the type of corpse that will decompose into pure skeleton. You know, it's not the type of body that will just purely become, you know, nothingness. Like, she will stay in this shape for hundreds upon thousands of years. So there is a semblance of magic kind of attached to it, but it is Cicero's job to actually clean the body of you know, of maggots, of rats, of any insect that might make their way in. He's supposed to clean the body of dirt and make sure that the necessary oils are still in the skin, you know, to keep the body as preserved and as beautiful as possible. It is known that, you know, whatever happens in the real world, if I were to touch her, for example, she would feel it. Not as in like a reality type of, like, you know, if you were to tap my shoulder, for example, but she can clearly feel what is happening to her body. So might just be something for her own amusement, you know, like keeping herself clean just so she doesn't feel the dirt or whatever. But that is one of Cicero's jobs, is to clean her putrid body, which is fucking gross. But one of the most interesting things is that we know that Cicero actually desperately wanted to be the listener, because he's like as devout as they come, right? He loves the Nightmother in a way that nobody else really does. So he wanted to listen to her so that he could do what she commanded. And the Nightmother actually knew this, and it's very interesting because it is known, thanks to the journals that Cicero keeps, that the Nightmother actually gave what Cicero calls the laughter to Cicero. So the reason that Cicero is crazy is because the Nightmother made him crazy, and the reason she made him crazy is because she knew that the job of a keeper is a messed up fucking job. You know what I mean? Like, it's gross. So she gave him the craziness so that he could cope with his job, which is pretty cool. The other thing that also we're not really told in the game, that is in the journals that Cicero has, if you collect them and read them, is that Cicero, that being the keeper is not actually allowed to kill anyone else ever again for the rest of his life, as per contracts. He can kill people in defense of the Nightmother and in defense to himself, but he's not allowed to take on contracts and kill people in the name of Sithis anymore. So he had to give up the art of murder, I guess, for his job, which is really interesting.
You are the listener! I have served Mother well, I have!
That's Cicero. There's a lot to Cicero that, because his story is really cool, and obviously he was, the Nightmother's coffin was in oblivion, and he took care of the body, making sure that it wasn't desecrated and destroyed when the elves invaded Cyrodiil, which, you know, he did his job. He kind of segmented did a big part in the history of the Brotherhood, which is really cool. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. I heard your comments on the D&D in Skyrim's theme whole thing. You guys seem to be very excited about the notion of making a D&D for Skyrim happen, which I'm very happy for. I'm really glad that you guys like the idea, and I'll try and make it work. I'll do my best on it. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else I want to say as far as this video is concerned. I always miss things, but yeah, let's leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying the series. It's been a blast. See you guys next time.